Thought I would have given up. Yes, I thought I really had enough. And all of my dreams, they done reached to moving. Thought that I was dying out, getting a little too old to get out. And all of my glory days had all but faded away. I was surprised last night when I decided to hang my head. My guardian angel came and this is what she said. Welcome to the place where dreams come alive. Put a smile on your face, 'cause we're gonna have a good time. Welcome to the place where dreams come alive. Put a smile on your face, 'cause we're gonna have a good time.
Hey, everybody. We made it again. We're here at another Monday. And y'all don't know what that music was, do you? Now, if you're not from Texas or Louisiana, you may not know what it is, but it was Zydeco. Okay. Yeah, I know some of y'all knew what it was, but nonetheless, that's what it was. It was Zydeco. So welcome to another episode of It's TTT, y'all. It's time to talk. And I am kind of holding off waiting for one of my guests to come, but one of my guests is here. I'll just have to beat the other one up when he comes. But as you know, I love allowing people to tell their stories because I believe God allows us to have experiences so that we can tell our story and help other people to understand that if he did it for them, he can do it for you. And my desire in allowing people to tell their stories or asking people to tell their stories is that they will inform you, educate you, inspire you, encourage you, whatever it is that you need, just to know you're not the only one going through and you're not in it alone. So that's the reason. And we're coming up on 1 year that I've been doing this. So we've told some stories out there and a few people will be coming back, but we'll talk about that at another time. So tonight, we're going to start off. I told y'all I've gotten hooked on something else. I have issues, so I get hooked on stuff. But Clubhouse, for those of you who haven't gone on Clubhouse, it's been very, very, very interesting. I've learned a lot. I've met a number of people, not in person, but in person. And I've gotten some good information. And as some of you know, I have a brother who's recently released. And so I was on there talking to these two gentlemen and some others and just getting some information about what we could do to support. And they were so good and their stories were so good. Of course, I had to ask. Now, they didn't have to say, okay, because, I don't have the big audience or whatever, but it stays out there forever. So we just plant the seed and we let God do the rest. So tonight, we're going to talk to Shannon and Chris if he make it. And we're going to talk about Chris when he gets here. But right now, I'm going to bring on Mr. Shannon Ross. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Good. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I got you just fine. What about me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. And lighting's good, everything. We're ready to rock and roll. So I just want to thank you for agreeing to do this. Like I said, I'm doing it because I just like to have people tell their stories. And the good thing is it stays up forever unless you tell me I have to take it down on YouTube and Facebook. And, you know, sometimes I repost them in different groups, or I'll send them to Facebook, and you can always have any part of it that you want. But where are you at now? Where are you talking to us from?
Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay, I know a little bit about that. We lived in Chicago several times. So, but it gets colder in Milwaukee than it does in Chicago.
You sure about that?
I think so. I'm almost sure. As a matter of fact, I still have some friends living in Madison. Some good friends living in Madison right now. But see, I'm not going to worry about technical. We're just going to talk. So, okay, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Are you really a Packers fan or?
Not at all. I'm not a fan of any specific football team because that impeded my ability to gamble on football when I was incarcerated. So I had to have my allegiance had to be free to for fantasy football.
I don't watch them anymore for another reason, but you know, I understand whatever the reason, you know, it's all good. So Shannon, start where you want to start. What, were you born in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Milwaukee.
Okay.
Was born by the lake, like literally 2 blocks from the lake, and then just bit by bit made my way up closer to inner city Milwaukee, where I've been, where I grew up at, and where I've been since I got out. I will be moving in with my pregnant girlfriend here in a different city in Milwaukee County in the next, probably next month or two.
Okay, cool. So now we're here talking about, you know, you've been on the inside and recent, and how recent was it that you were released?
It's been 9 months. Well, about 9.5 months right now.
Okay. And was that your first time or?
Yeah, that was my first time.
Okay.
I was arrested for having an antique firearm that was unregistered like 3 days before this case. So that was literally like I was out for like a day and then I was arrested for this case. So I consider them the same. I never had, it wasn't charged. I mean, I wasn't convicted or anything, but it was that silly little arrest beforehand. But otherwise, no, never was in.
Okay. So what do you have to say for since that all happened to you? What's been the difference in your life now?
The difference. So you mean in terms of like what is different in life in general, or for me that makes life different?
For you, that makes life different.
For me, that makes life different. It definitely is a sense of maturity. I don't want to say a sense. I would say maturity, just straight up maturity. Mm-hmm. I've always been a rebellious person. So when I was younger, that used to be just naturally not wanting to do things that other people were doing just because they were doing it. I've always been a rebellious. So it wasn't like I honestly had a reason to not do certain things. I just wouldn't do them because other people were doing them. And that's kind of turned, well, not kind of, I don't want to add a qualifier. It is absolutely turned into me continuing with that sense of rebellion, but it's only a rebellion in the sense I'm comfortable not doing things that I see other people doing that doesn't make sense. Or if there's a system, or if there's a protocol or a policy or anything that is in place that people are following but doesn't make sense and it should be contested, I'm very comfortable doing that, even being the only one, if need be, contesting it. So fortunately, there's a lot of people in the realm that I'm in of justice reform and decarceration work and reentry and whatever term one would use that also see that the system, that the way we approach it is not at all effective or helpful. It's destructive.
Yeah. So you say it's not helpful, but is it supposed to be? What is it supposed to do?
So there's, a lot of schools of thought on that. Maybe not a lot, but there's some who said the system is doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is to incarcerate, poor, predominantly Black and brown people. There are some who said the system is not doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to correct and that's why there's a need for reform. That's when you get into the conversation between usually abolition and reform about tear the whole system down or try and fix it. So I think that where I stand is that ultimately, the system that we have in place right now should not exist. There should be a much different entity in place for trying to address criminal acts when they do happen that are at the level of actually needing to remove somebody from society, but more so preventative in the sense that we're getting people the things they need so that they are not actually committing the crimes that so often make us think we have to have a prison system right now. It doesn't have to be the way it is. It's just a lack of imagination and a lot of fear mongering out in society and in media that makes us think that we have to have a prison system in the way that it operates now.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen the movie 13 by Ava DuVernay?
Yep.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. I always, when people are talking about how good the system is, I always refer them to that movie so they can see how it was established, because it really kind of tells the story, even relative to what's going on today, why a lot of the things happen and why people have certain mindsets, relative to policing.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Do you find a lot of people that think the system is doing a good job? That's interesting to me.
No, I don't find that. No, I mean, relative to when you hear people of a particular party saying defund the police is not a good thing because they don't understand it's not trying to take away the police. It's trying to reallocate resources to really help the police. I have a brother who is a police officer here in Dallas for many, many years. And he was on one of the shows, I forget which one, but he talks about, he was, and he's younger than me, but he retired from the Dallas police office department. And I forgot what number, but it was a ridiculous number that he had been maybe like the 40th Black man who retired from Dallas Police, and Dallas Police Department has been in effect for hundreds of years, maybe, or however long. And it's like, because they're either run off or whatever. So no, I don't know a lot of people that think the policing system now is okay, other than those who want to continually oppress those that they are continuing to oppress. So no. It's I think I just asked that question to be, to get your thoughts on it, because yes, there needs to be more I guess, and I guess it depends in a lot of ways, but we are the majority of the system, the prisons. We just are, because they choose to come this way. So, and I'm saying it nicely, I know, but I'm trying. I don't want to just throw everybody out here, but no, it's like the education system. It needs work. It needs lots of work. It needs lots of reform. And I also worked as a police dispatcher right out of college in far South Texas, and I saw people beaten, etc., in the booking room. So I know, I always say that a lot of police officers are insecure men with guns, and the guns give them power. And, that's just my thought. Nobody told me to say it. I just know from what I've seen. So, So what are you doing to make a difference in this? You say you're involved with the reform and all of that. What are you doing to make a difference now?
So I guess I kind of start back
at
the beginning of my sentence, maybe. So I got 17 years when I was 19 years old for first-degree reckless homicide. Selling drugs in high school, somebody robbed me, and one thing led to another, and he lost his life because I basically did not have the capacity as a teenager to understand that being robbed did not mean that I had to respond in a violent way. And so at the time, I was buying into the miseducation of manhood, as I call it, in my neighborhood and just in the culture that I grew up in. And I felt that I had to respond a certain way. So that caused a loss of life and me doing 17 years in prison. And a lot of destruction on, both sides of that. On my side, the family that, connected to me and my loved ones, and definitely on the victim side. And during my incarceration, I got my bachelor's degree in business administration. wrote a variety of things. Some of these articles were published. One of them was published in the Boston Review shortly before I got out, about my journey to get my degree, and how really the struggle, the work was more so dealing with the DOC and the system than it was actually doing the homework. That was more difficult, was dealing with the DOC. And that led me to getting a graduate degree scholarship at UWM, which I started like 3 or 4 weeks before I got out, actually, last September. And being the Zoom era actually worked out very well for me, because they had everything set up to go by Zoom. So I was able to participate in class, and everybody else was in Zoom. So it wasn't like I was the only one on a computer screen. Everybody was on a computer screen. So it's a lot of timely aspects to it, the way it turned out. And I, from doing with the scholarship, also have a fellowship attached to it. So I get paid a small amount, every month. It's not, I get 20 hours a week, about 15 hours, $15 an hour, to be a community fellow for what's called the Wisconsin Incarceration Platform. And the goal of the Wisconsin Incarceration Platform is to create a one-stop shop, a one-stop hub, whatever term you would use, a digital presence for all the resources and events in the reform, reentry, decarceration ecosystem in Wisconsin. And so we have the site up now, and we're just in the stage of adding, as many resources as we can, as many organizations. We interview organizations around the city of Milwaukee, and we've primarily been focusing on Milwaukee to start out, but we have been interviewing groups that are beyond Milwaukee. But the goal is to ultimately have everyone in the state on this one digital resource, so that you can see everything that's available, and you can get qualitative data. So you're not just getting the physical address, phone number, a name, and like a blurb of what they do. You're getting really a detail of their history, what they want to do. You're getting a good understanding of how they fit into your life. And so the point is to have people that are loved ones of currently or formerly incarcerated people who are releasing from prison, and people who are service providers, or are, in this effort to try and fight this. And I don't want to say fight. I know I talked to a friend of mine who doesn't like the war or the battle language we use a lot. So just humanizing. I like to say we're humanizers. And everybody that's doing those things attached on different sides of this issue can go there and see things that can help them. So they can get support network if you're a loved one. You can get resources for somebody getting out if you're formerly incarcerated. And if you're a reentry provider, you can see other groups that are doing stuff, so you can connect. And we have a background channel where people can communicate that are in organizations, so they can speak more about what's going on, and just have maybe a safe space, hopefully, to see if that will spur some communication with them, some greater collaboration and communication. And we're not sure how that one's going to work out. We're just that we have that there as a resource to see how it's going to go. But definitely the event calendar, that everyone will be able to kind of schedule things and see what's going on, so they're not tripping over each other or having events that are, I've been to times when I got out, I would have events that I would go to online or even in person sometimes. And then there would be another event by another organization at the same time, or overlapping that time. And occasionally groups that were in the same building doing this. I was just like, it doesn't make no sense. You should know, you should be talking already. Like, what's going on? And so that will, hopefully really, really eliminate that, if not just limit it significantly. And so that's one of the areas that I'm involved in. But before I got out in 2014, officially, I helped found, I'll say, if it weren't for other people, it would not have existed. So I can't just say I founded it. But it was a brainchild of my idea, and the brainchild. So it's called The Community, and it's basically started out as just a newsletter to help people have resources and to do a lot of myth busting, and just provide some information and some essays and some encouragement to people that are incarcerated, such as myself. I would get a lot of information coming across my path, and it was clear to me that when I would pass that stuff around, people would ask, where did you get this from? How can I get this? So that was happening in the places where I was at, on the unit of 100 people, 50 people. Then clearly on units all across this prison, and on prisons all across the state, and in systems all across the country, same thing was happening. So I had a friend who just got out, who was working at a copy shop. And this is an individual who is well-versed in a lot of different areas, technology, writing, in law. So he was a polymath. So he was able to help out with a lot of different things. And working at a copy shop, get us really cheap pricing for copies. Another friend in New York I had, who runs a higher education organization called Hudson Link. he donated some money, and then we piggybacked off of the readership of another organization who had a email, well, not an email, a newsletter, a physical newsletter, and just started out from there with about 200 readers. And over time, we became the most widely read publication in the Wisconsin prison system. We have over 9,000 now, probably close to 9,500. And we do the same thing. The purpose is just still to connect people inside to other people inside, to connect people inside to organizations outside, and to connect those inside with resources and information and encouragement. And we just can do that on a broader scale now that I'm out and can kind of pursue different avenues and, you know, create more partnerships. It's very difficult to do that when I was inside because I'd have to make three-way phone calls, which are not really legal. Yeah. Doing those a lot. Just trying to write to people and have my mom email people and just communicate with them. So it was slow. You know, it was not easy to really kind of grow things where I wanted to, but nevertheless, I was able to make a lot of connections and network in there, which helped me come out and seemingly hit the ground running out of nowhere. But it wasn't out of nowhere. It was all a process, and it was all because of the support network that I had and the mental infrastructure that I had in general going in. I was able to respond to my incarceration with a level of resilience that is not common. I don't take any pride in it. I don't take any credit for it. It's just something that I naturally had. And so seeing that, it's only seemed right for me to utilize a lot of that and let me not say utilize. I have a friend who would hate that I use that. It's not a real word. Use a lot of, she's a journalist. So she's a journalist friend who was telling me about that. Like, no, don't use made up words. And so use words just fine.
Utilize not become a word.
So it's utilize. There's a lot of words that have the IZE on them that really are not words, but I think like popular culture has just used IZE to add to things that don't need to have it.
I'm going to have to look that up because I thought that was a word. I've utilized it before.
Right. And so, yeah, it is a word in the sense that people use it, but it's something that it's like, you know, you have this teacher when you're in high school who tell you to not do something, like don't use a preposition at the end of a sentence, but everybody does it. There's no reason you really can't do it. It's just so I always catch myself when I use it. And I remember, you know, Gretchen telling me don't use utilize. Use is just fine. You don't need to
Gretchen, we'll work on that. I want to ask you, so they're okay with you circulating your information back on the inside?
Yeah, so it went from being a physical issue to most systems have an email system now, or what's called an email system. It's really just a messaging process, a digital messaging process that they have equal control over inside as they do about letters. So sometimes an email or these instant messages, these messaging system process can take as long to get to the person as a physical letter does.
Wow.
Because they can hold it and approve it whenever they want. Like they'll have it within like a minute. But they can sit on it and approve it, you know, in 3 days, a week. Usually it's like a day it'll take, but still, the process is not automatic like a regular email that you would imagine by me saying that. So yeah, we operate like that now, and that allows us to. It's a lot cheaper, it's a lot quicker,
right?
But it also has less character space to add information. So that was the trade-off. And recently, we did a COVID vaccine issue with in partnership with Medical College of Wisconsin, with the Yale Seach Center, and it was going to be Marquette, the Marquette University Curtin Institute.
Yeah.
So as a group, we all, they chipped in and paid for it and put the information together. Dr. Hawks at Medical College of Wisconsin, and some others at, like I said, at Yale, and students and faculty. So we were able to put together, I think, a really, really cool and helpful COVID vaccine issue that addressed a lot of the issues in a comprehensive way, with a deep dive and an FAQ and information from Dr. Corbett, who was a Black woman who was behind the development of the vaccine, to kind of help people understand that, it's not just something that was made by white people to take over, minorities and put chips in people. If they want to put chips in you, they'd have 1,000 ways to do that. And the one that always gets me is the end be all of the vaccine is that if you eat hot dogs, if you use aspirin, these are the same regulatory agencies that are approving the vaccine. So if you don't want to hit the vaccine, that's fine, but don't make it seem like there's some great danger behind that, because you're already ingesting things that are controlled and approved by this regulatory agency.
Well, the one that kind of gets me, and I'm just on the vaccine, is I know the Tuskegee experiment and all of that, but I'm like, okay, so if that's the case, they're separating what they're giving the white people and us now relative to this vaccine. So they're giving us something different than they're giving them. And that's why that one, even I'm well aware of it, even that one, did not bother me because it's not something that they're just giving to us. They're giving it to everybody. So, you know, it's like, okay, like you say, if you don't want to get it, okay, just say you don't want to get it, but don't, you know, have all these crazy reasons that don't make sense.
Right.
Me anyway, I don't know who they make. Maybe they make sense to other people, but they don't make sense to me. So I need to say it. But yeah, I just and like you say, we get anything you eat.
Yeah.
So much stuff out there that we ingest in our systems. You know, I'm sorry, and I just, like I said, I'm afraid of of COVID more than I'm afraid of the vaccine. So
yeah, and it depends. I mean, like each segment of the population has a different risk level. If you are, you know, older or have you know, complications with your health, then it's going to be a lot more of a risk factor for you. If you're younger and you feel safe, you know, well, it's up to you. And the one thing that no one can ever say the vaccine is 100% safe, because nothing is 100% safe. So if that's the risk that you don't want to take, I get that. But, you know, yeah, don't, like you said, don't say all kind of cockamamie things about conspiracy theories, because those, it's kind of actually akin to the prison system. The prison system operates on what I call a 90-10 rule. And a lot of authority does this, where the analogy, you ever heard of the analogy of the gorilla who has his hand in the vase and he's got his hand around a banana. He's trying to get the banana out and he keeps trying to pull, but you can't get your banana. You can't get the banana out by holding on to it. You have to let it go and turn the vase upside down. So it's an analogy there of you can achieve more by letting go. You can't have control over everything, because you're going to actually hurt yourself by trying to control everything. And so the prison system has a 90-10 rule. And again, this is my term. You will probably not see this in any kind of psychology books or anywhere else in economics. But what it is that they, in order to stop the 10%, because a lot of times they have rules and policies that are put in place to stop the 10% of the, you know, bad actors. And to stop the 10% of bad actors, they will institute some new rule or policy that actually just inconveniences that 10%, but really harms or inconveniences the 90% who have no intention of doing that, who have no intention of taking advantage of this opportunity in an evil way. And the 10% will still find another way to get what they want. So you're actually only hurting the situation. You're not really harming any, you know, achieving anything. So it's kind of that same concept where, you know, you're not taking the vaccine because of some conspiracy theory, but ultimately the things you're worried about happening with the vaccine, there are a myriad of ways it can still happen. It's not the vaccines. You're not going to avoid it by not doing that. So, but yeah, so we had that vaccine issue, and that helped out people. We didn't get in there when we wanted to, because this is what I discovered. I was trying to switch over to a physical version of our newsletter, go back to it. And the last time we had the physical version, we had a couple hundred readers. So I did not know that going from a couple hundred readers to 9,000 readers was an incredibly different process for putting together a physical issue of a newsletter or a magazine.
From 9,000?
Yeah. And so I was driving Jim crazy, who was our you know, staff member who works at the copy shop, and he's trying to, you know, patiently explain to me the process. And I'm like, okay. And like a couple of days later, I'm like, okay, where are we at? He's like, dude, this is going to take a while. This is going to take weeks. Like this, the guy who owns the business here, he has to approve it. He has to give like a line of credit almost. We didn't even have the money at first. So it was like this kind of going on consignment, and you have to have all of the information that you want done, and you can't change anything for like a month before it goes to print. I'm like, we're a swift boat operation. We move on flexibility, and things change. Like we can't have that. So I'm glad we did that for an issue that was going in solidly set where things weren't going to change, but they still did. The J&J vaccine part of it came up right when we were sending it in, and I would have liked to add new stuff. So we couldn't do it. It was too late. So I had to add it to our next email version issue. So just the bottom line is that we will not be going to a physical issue, because we have to have that flexibility to change things on the fly for our readers for new information coming in.
So now the prison that you were in, was this a state, federal, or?
All state. I did all my time in Wisconsin. I was at maybe 8 different facilities by the time I got out.
8 different ones. Wow.
Yeah, I spent the first 11 years at 2 facilities, and the last 6 at about 5 to 6 facilities. Yeah.
Wow. So why were they moving you around like that?
So when you have a large sentence, the first large chunk of it is going to be done at one facility. It's going to be a while before they let you go to medium. So I was at max, then I went to medium. Then I had to do a large chunk at medium. So when I got down to about 5 years left is when they started moving me around more, because I was closer. I never had any real issues inside that made them warrant keeping me at a medium or max. I was doing positive things. They didn't really know about the newsletter necessarily, but they knew I was in school. They knew I had never been to the hole at that time. No major tickets. So, that's why. And then the reason why I got lower, I was moved from, a medium, like they had transferred me to my first medium to another medium. Then I immediately, like within a matter of months, I was transferred to a minimum holdings camp. Then I was transferred to a minimum, secure minimum. Then I was transferred to work release, then another work release. Then I got caught with a phone and enterprising and sent back to a medium. And then, so it was just a whole bunch of jumping around.
Yeah. So did you serve your entire time?
Yeah. So in Wisconsin, Wisconsin is one of the 3 states that has the harshest, sentencing setup with truth in sentencing. So I don't know if you know about the history of truth in sentencing in the country. So in '94, the notorious crime omnibus bill, which you probably have heard about, where that really kicked up a lot of stuff with people being incarcerated for a lot longer sentences across the country. And this bill incentivized states to keep violent offenders incarcerated longer or to lock up more violent offenders. So either way, you were having more people in prison for longer. And in Wisconsin adopted one of these versions where truth in sentencing meant you do all your time. Some states, truth in sentencing meant you do 85% of your time. Like you just were going to be doing more of your time, not all of it. Okay. But in Wisconsin, and I think a couple of others, I believe there are 3 still that do it.
I'm sure Texas was the worst. So
well, I believe Texas has a parole process. They're one of the worst in the sense that I think Texas has a huge system. There's probably a lot more violence and oppressive in conditions in Texas from things that I hear about. But I don't think that people stay in prison as long. Like they have an opportunity to get out at least earlier in Wisconsin. But because now, if you get sentenced from 2000 on, you will do all your time. They have some programs you can do for early release, drug programs, and boot camp, and you can petition the judge to get out early for some crimes. For mine, for A and B felonies, you have no options. So I was in the boat where I had no opportunity to get out early. So I knew I was doing all my time. There was no you're doing less or more. So that kind of, in an odd way, incentivized me to just do what I wanted to do and what I felt was best for me to progress and get out with a sense of independence and, I guess, confidence in myself versus just playing the game. I didn't have to play the game because I had nothing to achieve. There's nothing you could. I wasn't going to win the game by playing it. So,
So, did you? Was it hard to get into the degree program and to get into school?
The only obstacle there was money. So now with the Pell grants being approved again, in about 2.5 years, they will across the board be available to anybody to take the Pell Grant money and get a degree while they're in prison. That had been taken away in '94 as well. So I was in during that period when they didn't have that at all. There was something about Obama passed or signed into law rather called the Second Chance Pell Pilot Program, where he allowed some money to be invested in every state for them to use Pell Grant funding for certain people. I graduated off of my last class on the Pell Pilot Program. And so it took me about 1.5 years to get that last class. It took me 6 days to finish it because it was a writing class and I write. So that was pretty easy for me to do. I did it in 6 days. And it was really just money. I had my family, they started, getting on me. My Aunt Kathy and my Aunt Mike, they started paying for some classes when I was in like my 3rd or 4th year. I really didn't want to. I'm not a fan of formal education. I'm the type of person that if I want to do something, I can look into it myself and learn about it myself. Like YouTube University would be perfect for people like me. I don't need
YouTube. You can find anything on YouTube.
Right. And some people don't. They need structure. They need to have deadlines for when they do things and homework. And for me, I don't need that. I can go and look into stuff and find out stuff on my own. I can find people to ask questions, and so it's just something that I don't like to do it that way. But being in prison, I had the opportunity. I had family who offered to pay for classes, and I started out slowly, picked up speed over time, and started really taking a handful a year. And I just finally graduated. It took me like 9 years, I think, to finish my degree. Maybe 11 years. I forget which one it was. But over the course of about 8 schools as well, jumping around, finding discounts and different programs I didn't know existed. And if I went to this program, I could get some actually funding. I didn't know about that at first, so it was a lot of ready to jump in and roll.
Which online school did you actually graduate from?
I finished at Adams State. It's not an online school; it's a distance education. But they also have a physical presence. It's in Colorado.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, congratulations either way, because everybody's not doing that. Okay.
Yeah.
But I also didn't know that you had to pay for it. I don't know why I thought the prison system paid for it.
Not at all. No. In '94, when they took away the Pell Grants, I think it went from about over 300 in-prison college programs to about 12 in the course of a year or two, because they didn't have funding, so they disappeared. They had to, pack up and head back to the universities.
Yeah. So the organization that you're doing, it's called Now Community. I had your email address. I didn't know. You want to share your email address with people, or?
Yeah. It's the community now.us.
Community Now. Yeah, that's what.
That's the URL. But the name of the organization is The Community, and that's my email address. We had to add the now because the community is such a generic name. You're not going to find a URL with just that in it. I think we could have paid for it for like $50,000. We could have paid for the community.
Oh, okay. Somebody had it already.
Yeah, of course. It's a pretty common
email address. So, Shannon, what would you tell someone, or like someone who has someone in now, relative to mindset when you're in there? What would you recommend? Now, you had a strong mindset, and you can have a strong mindset in a negative or positive way, So, so what would you recommend relative to that? And then, second, to someone who has just been released, what would you encourage them to do? So that's two things. If you're on the inside, what's the mindset? And when you come out, what's the mindset?
I know somebody asked me about a couple months ago that what was the key points behind the concept of reentry. So like for somebody trying to, or actually reentering society, what is the foundation of them building upon and being successful upon release, or even while they're incarcerated? And I hadn't really thought about it, but what came to my mind immediately was the sense that you can meet tomorrow, that tomorrow will be okay, that, there is this just a moment, and not to get caught up in that. And that comes through two channels. It comes from one, the most common is that people use their faith to be able to meet tomorrow, or have confidence that, you're trusting, that you're having faith that you are a child of God, and that He is taking care of that, and that, all is unraveling and, is coming about the way it should. And so that's what I think the strength of having faith is. And I think a lot of people really lose sight of that when they get all caught up and distraught with life, because if you have faith, that's the point that allows you to move forward in a way that is most effective and most honoring of the gifts that you have. The other part is some people who don't have faith. I myself am leaning more towards Buddhism. And so, but for me, I have a self-confidence. So it's either way. It's you believe that tomorrow can be met with what you have, and however that is going to happen, that you're not getting caught up in the moment. And that is the key thing, because once you have that self-esteem, once you have that confidence, that belief that tomorrow can be met, you can put on top of it, a whole variety of things that allow you to be successful. You can start to learn on top of that. You can start to be there for others on top of that. That's the foundation of being able to move forward in life in a way that is of value to yourself and others, and build. And so I think that's the key component that people, those inside and those outside, need to understand, is that you have to start with that faith that tomorrow can be met. And however that is achieved for you, whether it's faith or whether it's, finding the things that you've done in life that are successful and remembering those every day. Because I think something that we get caught up in is, how can I meet tomorrow? How can I do this? Well, you've met every day so far. Yeah. So don't forget the things that you've achieved so far. Keep those at the forefront of your mentality. Yeah. And that will, keep you confident and grateful and able to meet tomorrow, because you've been meeting tomorrow constantly every time. You've succeeded every day so far meeting tomorrow, so you can meet tomorrow as well. And I think for those getting out, I think, and even those inside as well, I think it's the same lesson, is really, really understand. And when I say this, I mean this not in a way just to kind of boost you up and make you feel better. I say it in such a very straightforward and matter of fact sense that there is an enormous amount of help and love out here for people that are formerly incarcerated. This issue right now is one that has on what I call high heels and a tight dress. And people in society really are, it's a sexy issue. People really are trying to help and be there for it. And companies and people that are power, players and decision makers and politicians and every facet of life, they're trying to help. They're trying to reach out and be involved. And a lot of it's insincere, but a lot of it is very sincere. And even the ones that are insincere, there's still resources to take advantage of to help yourself out. So there is no reason when you get out to think that you can't make it, other than you really don't believe, again, that you can meet tomorrow, because the opportunities and the resources are out here. I have a friend who just got out after 28 years, and he's like, people have been offering me stuff left and right. I'm like, yeah. And the reason for that is because they recognize that you are capable, because you believe in yourself, because you know that, you offer value, and they want that. They want to have a big part of people who believe in themselves and understand that they can meet tomorrow, because they know they can build mountains and mansions on top of that mentality with your approach towards life. So yeah, it's entirely doable. It's entirely, something that people want you to do. And the help is here as long as you are, looking to get helped, that you're not, walking out a shell of yourself. And there's no reason to, because you can meet tomorrow. You can always meet tomorrow. You've been meeting it every day.
You said your friend had been in for 28 years, and that's where my brother was, 27, I think. He wasn't, he's not having a hard time.
Oh, my friend just got out after 28 years. So it's very fresh. He literally just got out about 2 weeks ago. And a big part of it is that people like Roy, they're not going to have a hard time because they don't allow life to give them a hard time. Okay. Roy is an incredibly faith-based man. He's one of these people who you would talk to him even when he was incarcerated at 26 years and not knowing when he would get out. And it was like, I'm going to get out when God deems it, necessary. Okay. He's going to, and he has that faith. He has that confidence that things are going to work out. Okay. And he has a grace about him that when you see him, you recognize that. You're like, I want that. So he hasn't had a difficult time because he's not going to allow life to give him a difficult time.
Okay. And someone says it's a place for you in the motivational speaking arena. So that, I guess that'll be your next your next thing. But I wonder, Shannon, Wisconsin is doing a good job. I'm not sure all the states are as good as what's going on there. I really wonder because, the recidivism is pretty high nationwide. And, I look at Texas, and I didn't get to look at California where, my brother, but after 3 years, it's when they say things start happening, and either people are being arrested again or they're, being arrested and returning. And that's, I just wish each state was like Wisconsin, because it sounds like y'all have some good things going on there. And I understand what you say about having the hope and the belief and all of that. But man,
you need opportunity. If you don't have the opportunity,
you have to have the opportunity. There are a lot of people that are trying to help, and for different reasons. Some politicians, some really want to help. Like when I was in Maryland, I actually went inside and I taught a Bible class, to the women. Of course, they don't let you teach. They don't mix that up. Thank God. But but there are ministries and things out there that help. When you're on the inside, some when you're on the outside. When you come out. But y'all are really doing some good stuff there. You need to pass it on to some other states, I think, to, help some of us out, because I don't think it's as good in a lot of places as it is in Wisconsin. And I think, I kudos to you for being a part of it, and then also for them for having these things go on, because sometimes, and after teaching on the inside, the one thing I know, except for the grace of God, so go I. So I could have been one of the women, sitting inside there, because I've been places I shouldn't have been and done things I shouldn't have done, et cetera, didn't get caught. And there are a lot of people out there that look down on people who have, gone inside. And as I always say, except for the grace of God, it could have been anybody. But, thank God I haven't. But it's just, and when you go in and you talk to the people in there, they have so much going for them that you want to be able, to help, when they are allowed to leave or whatever. But everybody's just not like that. And so we just have to keep working at it, I guess.
Yeah. A couple of things. It's funny because you say that Wisconsin's doing a great job. A lot of us here think Wisconsin's trash. Wisconsin's, and so it's two sides. The groups that are working to kind of help and allow for there to be a lot of reentry services, there's some really cool things going on amongst the nonprofits. And I would say some of the private sector, the small businesses and the companies, some of the foundations, there's been really cool stuff and some really helpful stuff and really encouraging stuff going on. And I'm part of a group where we're presenting at No Studios, which is run by John Ridley in Milwaukee in about August 31st. And it's about this way all of our organizations can have a two hands-on approach from the second a person enters the system to well after they're released. And it's grown into this concept that was really now almost being built of a university of reentry with the tagline, "You are home."
Wow.
And it's going to be just this place where all these groups can kind of work together and collaborate and see that they have, a connection. And we're doing an award show on November 10th at Turner Hall in downtown here to honor all the unrecognized success stories in the formerly in the system impacted community. So it'll be currently formerly incarcerated people and their loved ones, and people that are never on like shows or webinars or have articles, people that just quietly go about doing great work, and they don't get any recognition for it. So we want to hold that up. And the problem is that in our state, the government, we've had no criminal justice reform passed in over 2 decades. It's been just absolutely a political football and a wedge issue that's used by each side to either claim they care or to claim that there's a lot of crime going on and they're protecting it. Like even this last session, we've had a number of bills proposed to increase crimes and increase things, and I mean increase like things that are labeled a crime and to send people to prison for more things, like to increase the prison population.
Okay, got you.
So it's sending people to prison for crimes for longer, like increasing the penalty for something from a year to now 4 years. Like all these things that are not getting us any closer as a society to have actual safety and, just wholeness in a community, but using it again as a political issue to say, oh, I promoted, safe communities. I'm trying to put more criminals in prison. It just sounds good. They're not going to get it passed, but it sounds good. And so, and we're a purple state. So that actually hurts us sometimes because if you're a red or a blue, the red side can just do what they want because they're all in power and the blue side can do what they want because they're in power. But purple, everybody just battles it back. We have a Democrat governor who's pro changing the system. We have a very Republican legislature who is not so much. And so, and it's not even a Republican or a liberal issue. You have a lot of states that are very conservative that have done it. Like, Rick Perry, when he was in Texas, he closed a number of prisons. So why is Texas doing more than, Wisconsin? So it's just, it's funny that it looks like it, but it's not really happening.
Well, I compliment on what the part you're playing in it or those that you're, because I love that the university you just talked about, what did you call it? University?
The University of Reentry. You are home.
Of Reentry. Yeah. University of Reentry. That's good. Well, maybe some way all these, I don't know. It's such a divided, it's a divided issue. And those who own the prisons and that's a whole nother thing, especially here in Texas and all around. And I don't know if you've ever listened. Now I'm going off. It's a guy on Clubhouse. Sometimes he's called ML Millionaire or something.
I think I've seen him before. Yes, there's a number of them. Do they have red dots on their?
I don't know all that.
Okay,
they may. But the reason I said it, he has been buying shares in prison, and when he breaks down who actually owns the prisons, it's like, oh, some of these companies out here, and I broke it down. I don't have it with me, but it was really very interesting to see who owns the prison or who has stock in the prisons. And one of the things he was talking about, he was encouraging Black people to buy, stock in the prisons, not so much to support, but to get control of them, So I thought that was a very interesting thing that I heard once, but.
Yeah, I've been there. I was a part of a room he had, and then there was a room of people that broke out of that room to talk about why owning prison bonds was, a terrible idea. So yeah, I've seen. It's actually much more complex than that. But it's the one thing I'll say is that the degree of people that own bond or own stock in prisons, the people that own the large amount of them, you can buy as many as you want to. You're never going to own as much as they have control of those, and it's just going to
Because when you hear some of the companies, it's like, okay, we'll never get as many as those. I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so Shannon, I've kept you almost as long as I promised. Do you have any closing words for the audience or anything upcoming that you want to tell us about? And you're welcome to come back anytime to talk about anything. So, and as I say, this is always up, so you can refer it to anyone. Any words?
I think one thing is that we have a custom career assistance program that we're putting together right now. So we're looking for anybody, professionals that are willing to either offer their time to help put together these comprehensive packets for those inside. One-time thing, doesn't have to be anything they do. It's like a project and they help put it together. We can keep it up to date. Or willing to be, when we get to that level, mentors for like an hour or two a week. We select people that show they're ready to have a mentor in that specific field that a person has. And we want to be able to provide packets of information on any career field at all. So not limiting to stereotypical fields like construction or truck driving, but video game design and, journalism and even politics, just whatever it may be. We want people who can really help put these together very comprehensively so people know what they can do while they're incarcerated to get prepared for that field and what they face upon release to enter that. So they know what they're getting into.
Okay. Well, I'll see what I can do about putting just a promo with this video out to call for help if people are interested. And, as they can contact you via your email, and and when it's running, you want to come back on and talk about it, we can do that again. So it's just all good. It's all good. And I'm going to pray for you, even though you say he was going to Buddhist, No,
all good. That's
just what I do.
I respect it all. I appreciate it all.
Father God, I just thank you for this night. God, I thank you for Shannon and the work that he's doing, Father. And God, oh God, you can use all of us to do so many things because you made us in your image. And we have hiccups in our lives, but we drink the water and we keep on going, Father. So God, I just thank you for all that Shannon's doing. Bless him, protect him, keep him, and prosper him as he moves forward in doing these things. God, we just give you all the glory and honor and praise. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So everybody, thank you for being here with us. And next week, I'm going to have the daughters of a good friend of mine who passed while I lived in Chicago. Sherilyn Reed she was almost my twin. We were almost born on the same day in November, but we were a few days. She was a little older than me. But I learned so much from her relative to community. She's a historic figure in Oak Park, Illinois, and her daughters are going to be on here next week as we celebrate her life and tell all the goody stories that she has, because she has a lot of wonderful stories. So until next week, I want to tell y'all, thank you so much. I love you. And please make sure you keep your peace. Mwah. Good night. Good night, everybody. Hold on, Shannon. Let's see here. I'm doing all kinds of stuff here.